Hello and welcome to the Idiot Book Nook. My name is Blazewing, and my pronouns are they, them.
I'm Lady Punnet. My pronouns are primarily she, her, sometimes they, them. Today is a she, her kind of day.
And I'm Kurtishy. My pronouns are she, her, sometimes they, them. Today's her day.
And we're reading Chapter 9 of the Vampire Jack Townson's book Fame Has Its Price. But before we get into that, if you'd like to follow us on social media, you can do so at linktr.ee/idiotbooknook. You'll be able to find links to our podcast, to our YouTube, to our Twitch, all of our individual projects on the net, and you'll be able to follow us wherever we might be creating. Before we get into today's book, as always with this book, we do have some trigger warnings, because Jack has been absolutely gorgeous and included these trigger warnings for us. Before you enjoy your reading experience of The Vampire Jack Townson, Fame Has Its Price, please be aware of the following trigger warnings: rape, moments of discrimination, graphic violence, and grooming. Quote, "As someone who has had their power taken from them, I believe in the importance of consent in all things. However, to shy away from these topics is to not make them go away, but to be blind to them." Also, I would like to apologize if you hear any noise coming from my end in the background. My AC unit is on. It is hotter than Satan's ballsack outside. Deal with it.
Same if you hear construction, they're working on the parking lot, but I need the circulation.
We now bring you Fame Has Its Price by the Vampire Jack Townson. Chapter 9, Master's Pet.
1 second, I gotta open the book.
Alexander.
I was very focused on the reading.
Alexander sauntered deeper into the room. Behind him, the elevator door rattled as it closed. He wasn't happy. That much was clear. His angular glare slid from one broken table to the bloody floor, to the staircase, and then to me. He was dressed quite differently now. A crisp white coat fell past his knees, a button-down shirt adorned with silver roses on black. White pants and black dress shoes made up the rest of his ensemble. It was much less laid back than he had appeared the night before.
Master!
Aiden croaked, falling to a knee like some pathetic little incel. My sire passed his guard dog and came straight for me. I sighed in relief. Finally! My knight in shining armor, blazing in white, trailed by the flames of the gods. My love, my hero, my crack! I felt my world spin for a moment, my ears ringing horribly as everything turned into a blend of color and sound. It was impossible to reconcile with what had just happened. I tried to compose myself as much as I could. My legs wobbled as I was hardly able to keep myself standing. As everything slowed, I brought my hand to my face to feel a far more raw spot, smart under my palm. He'd struck me. Hard. My skin was damaged and split at the force of the backhand. My love, the one I died for, hit me.
I told you to wait for me.
He hissed into my face.
You directly disobeyed my direction after I've bestowed you such a gift.
Alexander, he's a monster, I cried before he could continue, adrenaline spiking to the top of my skull. He tried to kill me, to kill us, I barked, indicating Claude, who was still knocked out. As I rushed to explain, Alex's fingers clasped around my jaw to muzzle me like his pet.
And you did nothing to provoke him. Is that right?
He released my face roughly before gesturing to his establishment.
Look around you!
He snapped, angrier than before. Even while Alexander was furious, the octave of his voice still seeped with honey and dripped into my brain. Trying my best to shake the way his very presence intoxicated me, I scoured the club in its current state. It was a mess. Blood everywhere. Several chairs destroyed. The bar cracked, the bottles shattered. A single table lay crumpled with the bartender's body wedged between its two halves. I cringed.
If you had stayed within your room, did as I said, I would have had time to speak with him.
His clawed fingers stabbed towards the still kneeling guard dog.
He is my first, you see, your brother. He's been with me for many years, loyally at my side.
As he finished, I went to protest. Alex, he started everything. The taller vampire reached, wrapping his fingers within my curls, and tugged me toward him.
Jack.
He breathed.
Aiden is hot-tempered. He has been my charge for 100 years, and he has never strayed, never stepped a single toe out of place.
My heart dropped.
Imagine how he must feel.
Alexander continued to grip my hair, keeping me in place like some errant pet. As he explained, Aiden refused to glance up from his downward glare. His cheek twitched and his eyes hardened. I stared at him, wondering, was he just as in love as I was? 100 years, and he was seemingly replaced in a day. No wonder he was so sour. I sighed. You're right, I exhaled. I should have stayed in the hotel room. I was just so excited, I explained. You were gone and I missed you. Why did you leave me alone? I whimpered pathetically, overcome by him, even with all that had just transpired. My sire released me to at last to instead rake the back of his knuckles across the cheeks he had marred.
I have my dealings, Jack. My business. Both with the living world and to ours. It is very difficult for me to stay in one place. Your transformation took evening and today, and by the time I awoke, you still had some time left. I didn't wish to leave you confused and lonely. That is why my note was there. I only wish you heeded my words.
His purple eyes shifted to Aiden then.
And I knew that my eldest progeny would be returning from his work this evening. I'd hoped to spare him the pain of learning this himself, to comfort him, reassure his fears.
Alexander sauntered over to where Aiden remained on his knees. A single blood tear rolled from the corner of his sharp eye to the point of his chin as he continued to glare at the floor. I watched in envy as Alex ran his palm across the top of Aiden's head in the tenderest of ways. My dead heart felt like a lead brick in my stomach. There was no other option. Time to make peace. Aiden. I looked down at the kneeling form, the Hound, as he called himself. I'm sorry. Can we start over? I mean, we're brothers, sort of, right? Alexander offered Aiden his hand. He took it at once, pulling to his feet, his face only slightly softer. The two older vampires stared at one another for a weighty, silent moment. Lamont brushed off a few droplets of crimson from Aiden's cheek. My throat constricted as I waited for them to kiss, but released a breath when that didn't happen.
Sire, I don't want a brother. I only want you.
He whined in the same manner as a dog would as its owner gave affection to the new puppy brought in from the rain.
My dear, Jack is wonderful. You will come to love him as I have, and then we will be a marvelous family. The three of us. Together. Imagine it.
And then it happened. Alex leaned forward, placing a gentle kiss onto Aiden's lips. Every muscle in his body seized and then melted. I watched his eyes flutter even a moment after the kiss broke. Bitter jealousy permeated my bones and turned them to ice. One moment.
Fine.
Just like before, I felt compelled to tear the hound's head away from his body.
Fine.
Aiden breathed.
I'll make an attempt, if only for you. Fire.
Alexander responded with a large smile.
I know you will. That's my good boy.
Then he bounced away from Aiden to attend to Claude. I heard Alex mutter from a distance.
Might have to give a call to the cadavers.
Aiden turned to me and my stomach twisted into a tight knot.
Hey, Jacko?
He muttered. I clenched my jaw.
I don't care where this path leads, but know this.
He started, leaning in closer until his nose was merely inches from my own.
I will never, ever accept you.
The admission stung. It was true that I'd just met this man, and he did a terrific job of spilling my blood all over Alexander's hearth. One moment. But his words stung worse than any blow ever could. They brought back the feelings of the past. Rejection from people who were supposed to be family surfaced from the deepest parts of my mind. Suddenly, a dozen faces manifested before me. Those who had once tossed me to the side. I thought myself impervious to traumas from my life, now that I was a vampire, but I learned too quickly that even death couldn't heal that sort of pain. Everything still hurt the same. Aiden ambled away from me, joining Alexander at his side. They pulled Claude off the table and brought him to a room beyond my view. The blood smeared a trail across the ground as they dragged him. Is he gonna be okay? I called to them. I knew Claude was immortal, but I was still genuinely concerned for my new friend. If he hadn't jumped to defend me, it was terrifying to consider how Aiden might have ripped me to pieces.
He'll be fine. We have resources for situations like this. He will be as good as new within the evening.
Alex answered before they dipped behind the wall and vanished from sight. Cadavers. I recalled the word. I wondered if that was a resource Alexander meant. What other parts of this dark world had I yet to learn about? A weird stillness blanketed the room. The riot was done. Everything was silent. A heaviness filled my heart. I guess I'll just go wait in the room. Nobody answered. Cool. I ascended back up those familiar stairs and down the same hallway. I re-entered Alexander's bedroom and collapsed over the nest of silk sheets. They gently cradled my wounded body, but what about my wounded pride? Eyes heavy, I drifted off, the scent of blood filling what dreams came for the short time I would embrace them. Anything was good enough to take my mind off the first failure of my unlife. My first failure, even as a vampire. And thus ends Chapter 9 of Fame Has Its Price by the Vampire Jack Townson. If you'd like to follow us on social media, you can do so at linktr.ee/Idiot Book Nook, where you'll be able to find links to our podcast, to our YouTube, and to our Twitch, and all of our individual projects on the net. For this episode of the Idiot Book Nook, I'm Blazewing.
I'm Lady Punnet.
And I'm Kudashai.
And we'll see you next episode.